We are live. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to the meeting of the Parks and Community Service Commission, or better known as PACS. I would like to take this opportunity to explain how the meetings are run and the times for members of the public to provide their comments. Once we start the meeting and after roll call, there is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that you do not see on the agenda. Each member of the public, in person or via Zoom, will be provided 3 minutes to make their comments. This is the public's time to express their concerns, compliments, and ask questions on items under the Commission's purview. At this time, members of the Commission do not ask questions or engage with the speakers. However, during Commissioners' comments, they may respond to your questions or comments. Also, if you would like staff to follow up with you, please complete a speaker card with your contact information so they may know how to find you. The agenda then moves into an opportunity for members of the PACS to make individual comments and suggestions overall. Old business include items the commissioners vote on, from minutes to action items needing a vote. Before each item is brought up for discussion or vote, the chair asks at that time if there are public comments related to that particular agenda item. New business then follows, which can be action items or reports. Again, before the item is considered and voted on by the commissioners, the public will have an opportunity to make comments on that particular item. Monthly reports follow those two items, and at that time you may hear commissioners ask questions or make comments on those reports. These items are for what we call receive and file, so no action or vote will be taken. Before the meeting adjourned, there is one final opportunity for commissioners and staff to provide comments. So I hope this helps to participate in our meeting. So now I need to go to the agenda. I don't have it up. Where's the, show agenda, here we go. All right. So at this time, I have called the meeting to order. If we could please rise and pledge of allegiance, led by our commissioner that he doesn't know, Scott Glab, if that's okay.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, can we have the roll call?
Commissioner Glab.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia-Arcos.
Here.
Commissioner Rutherford.
Present.
Commissioner Wall.
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Vice Chair Brown. Chair Dorn Parker.
Here.
We have quorum with Vice Chair Brown absent.
Thank you. And at this time, I'm looking here. We do have a presentation. At this point, we should go ahead and have the presentation, and then we'll take comments from the public on items not on the agenda.
Okay. So for this presentation, we're just going to notify.
Whoops.
Sound like somebody's maybe on Zoom or on a call?
We had a little voice come in. Okay, we'll try. Hopefully everybody on the phone call is unmuted. Okay.
So we're going to do an English version of the clip and then a Spanish version to follow. So just for everyone for context.
Thank you.
Hey Costa Mesa, have you heard about Costa Mesa 311? It's a new app that will replace the current My Costa Mesa app. Costa Mesa 311 is user-friendly, modern, and dynamic. Most importantly, Costa Mesa 311 is tied to TESA, our new all-in-one electronic permitting and licensing application system. Let's walk you through how to download the app and check out some of its new features. First, delete the old My Costa Mesa app from your phone. Next, go to the Apple or Google Store to find and download the new app. Type in Costa Mesa 311 in the search bar and click on the app's icon. Remember, don't just type 311 as you'll get many hits related to other cities. Be sure to type in Costa Mesa 311. Once downloaded, you can open the app and view its features. You can report an issue such as graffiti or potholes, link directly to TESA, find City Hall contacts, or look up local events, city news, and what's trending in the city of Costa Mesa. To report an issue, users have the ability to submit service requests by creating a profile or submitting anonymously. Choose the service request type you're looking for, fill out the information under Contact Info or Skip, check to see if the location is correct or choose a different location, add any notes and photos if needed, click here to submit anonymously or click Submit to create a profile. It's that easy. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. To access the city's general line, just click on the phone icon on the app or dial 714-754-5000. For questions about the mobile app, please contact our city webmaster. Thanks for watching!
Hola Costa Mesa, ¿saben de Costa Mesa 311? Esta nueva aplicación reemplazará la aplicación My Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa 311 es moderna, dinámica y fácil de usar. Costa Mesa 311 está integrada a TESA, nuestro nuevo todo-en-uno sistema electrónico para solicitud de permisos y licencias. Veamos cómo descargar la aplicación y explorar sus nuevas funciones. Primero, borre la antigua aplicación My Costa Mesa de su teléfono. Continuando, para descargar la nueva aplicación, vaya al App Store o Google Play. Abra la App Store o Google Play y toque la pestaña Buscar para buscar Costa Mesa 311. Toque o haga clic en el botón Obtener de la aplicación. No teclee solo 311 ya que obtendrá aplicaciones asociadas con otras ciudades. Asegúrese de seleccionar Costa Mesa 311. Una vez descargada, puede abrir la aplicación y ver sus funciones. Usted puede reportar un problema como el graffiti o baches, enlazar directamente a TESA, encontrar contactos del ayuntamiento o buscar eventos locales, noticias de la ciudad y lo que está ocurriendo en la ciudad de Costa Mesa. Para reportar un problema, los usuarios pueden enviar solicitud creando un perfil o de forma anónima. Elija el tipo de solicitud de servicio que busca. Llene la información en información de contacto u omitir. Verifique que la ubicación es correcta o elija la ubicación diferente. Añade notas y fotos si es necesario. Oprima aquí para enviar de forma anónima, oprima en someter para crear un perfil. Es así de fácil. Si tiene cualquier duda, por favor contáctenos. Si quiere contactar la línea general de la ciudad, puede oprimir el icono telefónico en la aplicación móvil o llamar al 714-754-5000. Para preguntas sobre la aplicación móvil, favor de contactar a la administradora del sitio web de la ciudad. Gracias por su atención.
That concludes the presentation. This is to encourage everyone from the public to download the app to get the latest information or report an issue regarding somewhere in the city.
Thank you. And then at this time, we have public comments. So we'll start with those in the audience, and those are for items that are not on our agenda. So come on up.
I would like to remind the public that you will have 3 minutes to speak unless otherwise. If you are a Spanish speaker, you will be opted to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, greetings and good afternoon. Commissioners, my name is Victor and I'm one of the youth leaders with Chamoy. Stands for Changing Hearts and Mind of Youth. Some of our youth are currently on their way. But I'm here to, so I can't talk about the agenda item, right? Agenda item 1.
You can, I encourage you to come back when the agenda is up, but if it's something that's not on the agenda, that's this time for public comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So one of the reasons why we're here is that we've been meeting with our Chamoy group. It's about 8 or 10 young folks from Estancia High School, Costa Mesa High School, Early College, and Newport Mesa. And they've brought up some issues that are affecting adolescents. And some of the things that they have been bringing up is, lack of restrooms available at Smallwood Park, Moon Park. There are no restrooms and they need desperate cleaning. And some of the issues that they brought up as well is e-bike safety near Estancia High School as well. I also want to highlight some of the work that they've been doing is collecting, surveys from their peers at their respective schools. And we're also having a youth civic engagement program in partnership with Orange County Community Housing Corporation, also known as their after-school program, Stepping Up. So we're doing some tours, college campus tours and civic engagement programs. I know some of you all have met some of our youth last year that came and spoke with the Honorable Arliss Reynolds, who gave us a tour of Public Works and how the city functions. Other than that, I hope that they get here on time for them to be giving their public comments on the agenda item. But again, for anybody of our youth that are watching this later on, this is where we come and put everything into practice that we learned to make, our voices heard and to hopefully create permanent systemic change to beautify this beautiful city. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Araceli. Yo vengo representando vengo a representar el Distrito 4.
Good afternoon. My name is Araceli, and I'm here to represent District Number 4.
Los dos proyectos están bien, pero creo que el proyecto A es mejor. Tengo una sugerencia sobre él.
Both projects are good, but I think letter A is better, and I have some suggestions about it.
De poner más luces en la parte de atrás y por favor no poner pasto artificial, porque quema mucho los pies de los niños.
To install more lights in the back, and please do not use artificial turf because it burns children's feet.
Sobre el espacio de las bicicletas, poner 2 topes para carros porque pasan quemando llanta para la seguridad de los niños.
Regarding bike areas, please use 2 stops for cars because they pass by burning tires and it's not safe for children.
Poner un mural enfrente de la calle Placentia y Shalimar para un espacio del Distrito 4.
Cuando dice mural, ¿a qué se refiere?
Sobre una pared.
¿Hacer un mural, una pintura?
Sí.
To make a mural in front of Placentia and Salimar streets for spacing for District 4.
También poner buzones de bolsas para mascotas y poner más árboles frondosos para dar más sombra y más vegetación.
Also, please add more boxes for dog bags and plant more trees to get shadow and more vegetation.
Poner los juegos hacia el frente y dejar el árbol que se encuentra hoy en el medio y poner el juego de Gembo hacia atrás.
Please put games to the front and leave the tree that is in the middle, and also place the Jumbo game towards the back.
Gracias.
Thank you.
So can we, with the interpreter, can we check the microphone? It's hard to hear. It was really hard to hear. I know at first it was off, And then it was, so I don't know if something's with the microphone or the interpreter can pull it back. It was hard to understand the interpretation.
Do you want me to, can you hear
See,
now?
that's hard to hear you. I don't know if it's too close to your mouth.
And here?
It's better there.
Okay, do you want me to repeat everything?
I think
It's,
we, did the person speaking, because I didn't hear her name when she announced it, does she have it in writing?
yes, she has it in writing, so I can read it again if you want me to.
Or if, yeah, so what might be okay, and you explained to me, is if we could get a copy emailed to the staff, that way it can be shared in writing with all of the commissioners,
Okay?
that would be great.
Okay, I'll tell her, thank you.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
apologize about the
And especially the director.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, young man. Okay, we're ready for you now.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jacob Sanchez, and I'm a resident of Shalimar. On May 18th, we are inviting you guys to join us because we are going to plant 35 fruit trees, some California native plant, succulent, and some city trees. Some of the fruit trees include peach trees, fig trees, guava trees, kumquat trees, loquat trees, guavana trees, pomegranate trees, plum trees, and avocado trees. We are very excited for experts who have volunteered to teach us of the benefits that these plants will provide for us. I hope to see you all there, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jacob. Do we have anybody else coming forward in the chamber for items not on the agenda?
Well, good evening. Thank you for taking public comment. My name is Ben Strack, and I am a resident of Costa Mesa and also a longtime youth baseball coach. I've been coaching for 30 years now. And we have some of our Costa Mesa baseball players here in the audience. If you'd like to stand, team members, give a fist pump. You all probably know that there's been tremendous growth in Costa Mesa community in baseball and in other youth sports. And we, about 15 years ago, 2008, as a part of a youth summer camp that I ran for many years in baseball, I used Tewinkle Park to run our camps. And so my first comment really is a compliment because the fields are beautiful, they're well maintained, and you guys have done a great job with the fields to this point. And we with that being said, with the growth in the youth program, specifically in baseball, the reputation has grown too, and I think there's potential here to build a facility there, expand on what's already currently there to build one of the nicest facilities in the area here. We all know the importance of youth sports participation and what it does for our kids, and when they have facilities that have more enhanced options like batting cages and these types of enhancements to the fields, it provides the coaches, and we have some tremendously talented coaches in the Costa Mesa community here with the Costa Mesa Pony programs and the select programs, that that expansion allows us to really take skill building to the next level so that these kids build their skills and that they have more fun, more talent development, and also that there's more pride too, that they're going to fields where they really appreciate the opportunity to participate in the best fields in the area. And the other thing is that with all the rains over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of cancellations in games, and so improvements in taking care of the fields so they drain quicker and we can get these kids back on the field is hugely important because, for their when they play, they're happy and they're growing. Youth sport's huge for their emotional and cognitive development. And, we really appreciate what you're doing for the community. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to make Costa Mesa youth sports one of the best in the area, if not in Southern California. So appreciate you hearing these comments.
Thank you, Vince. We have another speaker? Wait a second, let me put it back on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I don't need the microphone, but I could yell.
No, but we need it for the recording.
Yeah.
And
Good to see everyone again. My name's Eric Roberts. I'm the current chair of the Fairview Park Steering Committee. And obviously, we are primarily concerned with Fairview Park items. We are your largest park. We are a nature-oriented and native species-oriented park. Seemingly, it seems like every other year we find, or the scientists find, new plant or animal species. So that is our basic orientation. And this is the start of a relationship. Mr. Gruner, our director, has invited me, and at least one of our members will probably be here every single PAX meeting in the future to report, to tell you what's going on at Fairview Park, to inform, but also to work with you to make Fairview Park and all of our parks better. Two primary items going on for us right now are obviously the master plan update, and we're expecting for your commission, for the city, and for our committee, another MIG, the corporation, been hired to do the master plan update community meeting coming up soon. And then we have a topic that's going on your agenda tonight as well, more transparency and more information in regards to capital improvement projects. In fact, as of last meeting, that is now a standing item in our agendas. So we're going to have reports every single meeting, whereas before it was sort of ad hoc in between there. Looking forward to working with you. Don't expect me every single time, but one of our members will be here for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have, it looks like we have some others. Again, these are comments for agenda, items that are not on the agenda. Thank you.
Yes, hi, Parks and Rec Commission. My name is Dulce Saavedra. I'm with Resilience LC, and we work here in Costa Mesa with young folks. And I just wanted to share that I've been noticing the flyers and the public input that y'all are collecting from the community. I wanted to see if it's an option that these could be online. We know that sometimes community members can't come out. People have families, people have school or after school activities that they're doing and they can't make it out. And we would love for our young folks to be able to provide some input virtually through emails, through surveys, or through any other ways that community can provide input. I know last year some of our young folks were collecting their own data around access to bike lanes, so it was really cool for them to hear how some of the community was having issues with bike lanes around the Estancia Park area and what they wanted to see change in there. So I think this is great. I think it's just how do we get more input from our community and the young folks that we work with. And yeah, they'll be sharing a couple of thoughts that they have too, that things that they've been working in their community, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Itza Oliveira. I'm a resident of Costa Mesa and living on the street of Pomona Avenue. I'm a member of Chamoy. I've been noticing around my city and around my neighborhood, there's been a lot of tagging / graffiti problems and situations. And for me and like my neighbors, I've talked to my neighbors and they've seen that it's kind of disrespectful that there's been like a lot of tagging graffiti, and it's becoming a big problem. And we think it's kind of disrespectful, and we seen and we walked around. It's just we think it's really rude that they've been tagging up houses and apartments. A idea that we suggested my neighbors and other community members is that that we should get that we should start a beautification project by involving local residents, business owners, and artists, and that we can create a mural that kind of residents and involves all community members. One idea that we were thinking of is creating a religious type of mural that kind of makes everyone comfortable and that everyone believes in. Specifically the Virgin Mary as one of the murals, because that kind of identifies with my culture and many others around the neighborhood. And that was it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Salvador, and I am part of Chamoy as well. I live off of Pomona 19. I live near Itza, and we were talking about this and how we want to add like something where people won't like graffiti, since we've been seeing it all over the community, and like on the alleyway behind where we live, there's always like graffiti. They added one like yesterday. I don't know. Near the alleyway, but like Pomona and 20, I think it's the street. They added one, and then as we were walking today, we saw another one, and so like we just think that the city is getting tagged or graffitied more, and we just wanted to make something like a mural or a collage, whatever you call it, behind there, so we could just like stop the graffitiing, and like I feel like people won't disrespect the art and paintings that others have made there because of the meaning to it. And like Itza says, people could come out from all over the community and help paint. They just want to incorporate the whole community, and that hopefully people won't graffiti anymore.
Thank you. We have another speaker.
Good afternoon, dear honorable commissions. My name is Orlando Mendez. I'm a student from Bolsa Grande High School, and I'm also part of the Chamoy group. And basically, Bolsa Grande High School is located a little bit far away from here. It's from Garden Grove High School. But I would like to be able to speak upon youth-based groups advocating for similar age resources. Like for instance, with this flyer right here, I like what they're doing for advocating for improvements for Shalimar Park because of what me and many of my group members were sharing similar experiences and saying how Shalimar Park has a little bit more underfunded resources, isn't really more considered of like an actual park. But what I believe that we should be able to advocate for is not only to improve the park, like what they were saying right here, but as well as for improvements of maybe even a skate park, as I would believe that adding a skate park would be able to improve or be able to help individuals like myself or even in a similar age group to be able to drive them to go and be able to have fun and they're around these summer times, because I know summer's coming and school is coming out. So I believe so that we should advocate for that, for the improvements of the overall parks and overall improvements on these parks. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else? We do have another speaker over here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is To. I am a resident of Costa Mesa. I'm a former environmental engineer by trade. I'm here today to talk about a topic that I'm very passionate about, which is greening Costa Mesa. I participated in the tree planting at Arbor Day event 2 weeks ago, and I met some of the commissioner and the staff here, and I absolutely loved it. This was a long time coming since my conversation with Jim Ortiz, the city arborist 2 years ago. As enjoyable and meaningful the event was for me, and for some staff there was only another resident there. I grew up in Vietnam, and we have a tradition to plant trees every spring. And it's wonderful for adults and children to be involved in this kind of activity and to see this tree grow, to provide habitats for birds, animals, and much needed shade and oxygen for a hot summer day and increasing built-up suburban area. I also live in Melbourne, in Australia. It's a garden city and the most livable city in the world. I have a dream that all the streets of Costa Mesa are lined up with trees, with beautiful shades and colorful flowers. All the parks are covered with seasonal trees and flowers. I'm willing to be a tree ambassador to rally residents to plant more trees because trees make us happy, healthy, and less stressed. I'm also asking the city to support my dream and these missions of greening Costa Mesa to ensure that every planting permit require greening and landscaping plan that require builders to plant different canopies to reduce the impact of constructions and urbanization. With the pending Newport Boulevard improvement landscape plan with Greening Street will be appreciated. I'm here to support the community and parks to create a greener and more sustainable Costa Mesa so we can become the most livable city in California and in the US. The best way to see how this is done is an AGS plan to see how the tree coverage improve over the next 5 years and 10 years plan. The last time to plant the tree should be 20 years ago, and the second chance is today. So I hope you hear what I have to say and support my plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There are currently no members on Zoom at this time.
My microphone back on. All right, at this time, we'll take commissioner comments and suggestions. So I will start on my left. Commissioner Wright, if you would like to begin. Let's go.
All right, I'm ready. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. For my opener comments, I was just taking notes on what you all asked about. So I'm just gonna go in order because I didn't have time to organize them for you all. So first one is about feedback on our upcoming park projects and CIPs. Today in our meeting, we're diving into the finances and the really boring, lengthy aspects of it, but the part that's really important for the public is making sure that we're getting your feedback in a timely manner and at the stage where it's most impactful. Oftentimes the public hears about things when we're already breaking ground and ugly fences have gone up and then they're done, right? So we are trying to be better about getting the word out there, doing meetings here at our commission meetings, but also coming to you. But the fact that, I think we're hearing our young people asking, how can we make the flyers better or the outreach better is something I've been wondering for a long time as well. Our department and the city does have an Instagram, but I even really like the idea of kind of short-term signage up at the sites where projects are coming up so that months before, say, we're updating the sports complex or your neighborhood park, which you're already attending, maybe you could scan a QR code and send in feedback directly to us. So that's another avenue. All of our emails are on the city's website. We do check those because we don't get very many emails. And really our job is to push that feedback up to city council. So they're the ones that make truly final decisions and are your directly elected officials. And so I know for one, we do have specific council members that are really passionate about their neighborhood parks versus those that are really passionate about our youth sports complexes. So thank you so much for coming. We are supposed to be, the resident your kind of representatives in directly feeding that feedback back up to City Council. And also, if you have any ideas of how we can make outreach and awareness of these projects and our feedback days that we do better, please let us know. Okay, something also, so in response to the youth sports complexes, so we do have a few projects in the works, and I think this would be a great opportunity to let you know. We have some lighting projects. Something that's getting proposed today is a re-leveling project for a couple of the complexes. I know that we do an intake of all of our facility maintenances. I'm not sure if the sports complex, say seating, or future facilities that we want to add, say bathroom improvements, is included in that. But the person to talk to would be Public Works Department, and some of them are here with us right now. And you can kind of figure out, okay, what's part of the routine? This gets checked out every 2 years versus what would be a future grassroots project that you would want to have prioritized and start making motion on, and that would go into something called a capital improvement project. And that is where they then start debating a few years ahead. Is that a grant? Is that going to come from the general fund? Is that going to be a bond? So those are things we're actually talking about today, which is pretty good timing. So that's how I would kind of approach your needs and maybe go back to your community and put together a plan of bringing to fruition the vision that you see for our sports complexes in Costa Mesa. I want to say thank you to the Fairview Park Committee member for being here. I think it's a really special that we're trying to bridge that gap. There's a lot of overlap in our work. Even 2 months ago, with the tree donation, I did feel like, I know we have Commissioner Brown who attends your meetings, but I really appreciate you being here and sending someone every month. Okay, and then requests on, or just feedback on Shalimar Park and the skate park request. So I have heard talk with some West Side City Council members about how great it would be to have like a West Side skate park. The closest thing I could tell you could be coming is we have something called the West Side Park Expansion Fund. So right now we've identified there's just not enough parks in West Side, period. And a lot of housing is coming to West Side. And so what we have right now is a bunch of money just set to the side to buy land to hopefully have a brand new park in West Side down the road. If you didn't know, there's already like $1 million going into Shalimar Park too. So we're doing meetings and it's really exciting. And that's the kind of exciting stuff I'm saying we get to learn about because we're up here, but I really want the public to know about more. And then as far as graffiti or like an alley beautification project, we also have budget for that. So one time I went on a neighborhood walk with Councilmember Chavez, and every time we saw graffiti, he would just open his My Costa Mesa app, which was the video that we were sharing about here, take a picture, and that goes straight to the Public Works Department, and you would be amazed. It's like they are actually so fast at fixing things like that. And low key, when you're walking with your council member and he's snapping pictures, you know it's actually gonna get answered because it's him sending them. So I would recommend anytime you see something, take a picture, just email it to Public Works. They're on top of graffiti. And then if you see something like a mural or an alley that could use some beautification, that's a completely separate part of the city budget, but that is also something that we do. And then finally, well, kind of in alignment with the alley beautification project, the city also does free trees on sidewalks. So if you're ever walking down your street and think it could use a tree, you can also send in a request for a tree to be planted there that's already approved by the city, which I think is really cool. And finally, we will be planting lots of trees on Love Costa Mesa Day, which is on May 18th. So I can tell you all care a lot about our city, and that will be the perfect opportunity for us to all come together and keep making it even better. So I know that was a long opening comments, but thank you for having me.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. And then we'll move down to Commissioner Wall.
I hate having to follow that. But pivoting off of what Commissioner Wright said, I was at the outreach meeting at the Ketchum-Libo Park last night. And it was nice to see it being very well attended. Several members of city staff, your lowly commissioner was there, and it was great to see members of the community actively engaged with the architects that were designing the improvements for the park. And there were lots of places where you could go and stick little stickers on aspects of the design that you liked, so we could take that feedback. I thought it was very well attended and very well done. And so I fully expect things like this to happen on some of the other outreaches. I think the skate park is coming up in Shalimar in the next few days. So I would encourage anybody that was here or hears this to participate. To the question about how to get the word out, I'm aware that we do a lot of stuff. For example, social media, there's a Parks and Community Service page on Facebook that carries all of these flyers, all of these announcements for these activities that are taking place. So between social media, Costa Mesa Snapshot that comes out once a week, and Costa Mesa Minute, which is our TV station that does a quick blurb on things going on in and around the city, those are real good outlets to get the word out into the city. But if there's anything else beyond those that you think we could benefit from that would help us be even more effective in getting that word out there, please tell us. Don't just assume we know. So share that information with us. Our job is to communicate with you. We are your eyes and ears to the city, and we carry that forward to the city council and on to staff. So appreciate the attendance last night. Fully expect to see good attendance coming up the next two that are coming up the next week. Thanks for being here this evening. And that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wall. And then I will turn to Commissioner Cassius Rutherford at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see everyone here. Appreciate the feedback and comments shared tonight. I think it's really important to share input. To echo what Commissioner Wright said, even if you can't make a meeting, that doesn't mean you don't have to share input. Some of the most important big policy ideas or initiatives start because somebody sat down and wrote an email about something they saw. So that input is really important, and that really drives what happens in our city. So I encourage, if you haven't yet emailed about things that you're seeing on a regular basis to city staff, start doing so, because that feedback is really important, and that's how our whole system works. People speaking out is really important, and that feedback is what drives what happens at City Hall. So thank you again for coming and speaking out tonight, and I hope you continue to do so, because that's really important. I just wanted to quickly share on a personal note, this will actually be my last meeting. So it's been an honor to serve for over 5 years on the Parks Commission. Really wonderful to work with the amazing team at City Hall. I think we're very fortunate in Costa Mesa to have such a talented, dynamic team in City Hall. And I'll definitely miss working with you all. So on a personal note, we're planning to move later this month. So just wanted to share that update. But if you're interested in serving, if you've ever thought about being on the Parks Commission, there will be an upcoming opportunity to do so. So definitely something to think about if you're interested in getting more involved in local government. So thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Rutherford. And at this time, I'll go down, if it's okay, Commissioner Glab for your comments.
Yeah, I just had one shout out for the Norma Herzog Center. I hosted my high school wrestling banquet there, and we've done it there the past 2 years. And I've been recruiting other teams from the high school to use that facility as a banquet. Great staff. They have all the AV equipment there, tables and chairs, very, very reasonable price. And the city just does an absolute fantastic job working with us. And so I just wanted to thank those that are at the Norma Herzog Center and all of those who kind of help behind the scenes. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Glab. And it's time we'll go ahead and turn to Commissioner Garcia Arcos.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending. I wanted to give a thank you to Victor for setting this up. It's really inspiring to see youth come together like this. And if you continue to pursue this, you will make a difference. You just have to be persistent. And as for the graffiti 311, they're very on top of things. Within 24 hours, they'll remove graffiti. Unfortunately, the back alleys are not on the, they're not able to access the back alleys. So the back alleys, if they're tagged, the residents have to pay out of pocket. Just wanted to bring that up because we've had that issue as well. But the app does work. For large items, for graffiti or any other things that you see, you should download the app. I recommend it. I've used it, and it works really well. So thank you so much for putting that together again. And I also wanted to also mention that hopefully everybody can make it out to May 17th. Aside from, that's going to be for the Shalimar Park, and also May 18th. But also wanted to mention April 22nd, we had intentional neighboring celebration, and we had Unidos para la Comunidad, which is a Shalimar committee. We were able to cater for that event, and we also saw at-large Commissioner Wright that was there. And I hope that you all can make it to the next one. The next one will be August 19th, Monday, 6:30 p.m. through 8 p.m. at 150 Paularino Avenue, Building B. So you don't get lost. I'm just gave you the address right now. Let's see. There's on Friday, April 20. I'm sorry, April 26th. We planted many species of trees. With city arborist Jim Ortiz, and unfortunately he just retired. But I just wanted to give a huge shout out to him. He did a great job for the 6 years, I believe, that he served with us, and he really made a difference. And I hope that we cherish those trees that he last planted in his last event. It was beautiful, and I learned a lot from that event. Really, really did. We have a great staff, by the way, that the city has hired. So I have huge hopes for our future trees. I did want to echo what was said for May 18th. As Jacob had mentioned, we will be planting 35 fruit trees, a lot of California native trees, medicinal trees, vegetable gardens, and over 150 succulents. We're tearing up lawns from private properties, and we're basically we're redesigning all that. So hopefully y'all can make it out. It's for Love Costa Mesa Day. If you guys haven't already signed up, go to lovecostamesa.org, and you can sign up to volunteer. And the last thing I wanted to mention was I was very excited that we launched our first ever Spanish track with Arboleros. That was with the Western Chapter International Society of Arboriculture. We celebrated 90th year celebration anniversary. So they're really on top of things since 90 years. It kind of speaks on that. So the mission for Arboleros is to provide education, certification, and safety information to bless our Spanish-speaking arborists with the ability to move up in our industry and have a better pay, and also to return home to their loved ones. On Friday, April 26, 2024, at 1:46 p.m., a tree trimmer contracted by a homeowner got trapped approximately 30 feet up while trimming a palm tree. The incident transitioned from a rescue to a body recovery. This man never returned home to his loved ones. I hope this information is of help to any of you and your friends. On April 28th, we've collaborated with Kalosha to try to advocate for safety. This is the reality that we live in, and we have seen a lot of fatalities. In Newport Beach, we've had some. 2 months ago, we had 2 fatalities in Anaheim, so it's more common than you would think. Just wanted to give that information, and hopefully that helps anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll start my comments with what I've been kind of doing in the city. If no one has seen our new butterfly park, you need to go. I was unable to do the unveiling, but the butterflies are coming. It's a beautiful sight, and part of our whole desire to be part of the earth and the green trees, but also understand the part of the ecosystem that we play up and down the coast and in our country. So it's a wonderful and it's well done. I was able to go to the state of the city to understand where our priorities are, and we had our key education leaders there. It was a wonderful event that really cemented a lot of the work that's being done to beautify the city, to provide enhancements to resources for the city and all of us residents. Also, now that spring has finally moved in and we have seems warmer days and not as wet, I'll be on my bike touring the parks, not just in my area, but everywhere, sort of talking to everybody and finding out what they enjoy, what they want, and things like that. I personally, on a personal note, I'm going to miss Cassius, our Commissioner Rutherford. I got to know him on our work on behalf of improving the city, and he chaired the commission. And I support his move, but I'm bummed and I'm hoping he comes back. And if you could, what's District 2? Which part of the city is District 2? So anybody watching will know if they live in it. South Coast Metro. So we hope to get some good folks. So a couple things. I appreciate everyone coming, especially our young people. I want to reiterate, Joe, that because Green Costa Mesa, make sure you receive, have Toe. You provide your information to our staff. Anybody who says, I want to help, I can't imagine that we won't say yes, especially those wanting to help understand how to green and reinvigorate our city for as we're heating up the planet, needing trees and green space. Also, I do believe that all of our flyers now are online for our outreach. So all of you people who wanted to go online engagement, please look online and share it with all your friends and colleagues and families so that they can put input as far as that. We do have a skate park, and actually the input is starting already of our skate park, how to improve it. We have a grant to improve the skate park. So it is going to be this Saturday. So please, those of you who are interested, come or go online. The other one, which I want to reiterate here, the new app is incredible. CM311 is that immediately gets resources if you have a pothole or even graffiti. But I want to clarify something that our commissioner said. Are the alleyways clear of graffiti? Is that cost those who live in the alleyways money? Raja, can you explain that? I don't mean to put you on, but that was disturbing that our public thoroughways would be privately funded to clean those up.
So Chair Parker, the way it works is if any graffiti is seen from a public right-of-way, we address it. So if it's a private alley, if it's private, if it's inside a private property that we cannot access it, then it's we don't enter a private property to fix graffiti. That's
Okay.
what I meant.
Oh, okay, so that's what it's meant.
If it's something that's visible from a public property and we can access it, we'll fix it. We'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I have some follow-up questions for you later. At this time, that completes my commissioner comments. So if we can move on to, and at this point, we'll move on to the minutes. So we have before us our minutes from the last meeting of March 14th. And if you have any comments, do we have any public comments about the minutes? We have no one in the chamber. Do we have anybody online?
At this time.
Okay, so if someone can make a motion to accept it, and we have a second, and if we can all vote.
Motion carries 6-0 to approve the March 14th, 2024 commission minutes.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll move to new business, which is our proposed capital improvement program. At this time, we'll do the agenda report, and then we'll take public comments.
Thank you, Chair Dorn Parker. Good evening, Commissioners. The next item before you is the proposed capital improvement program, or CIP, budget for fiscal year 2024-25, as well as the 5-year CIP budget through fiscal year 2028-29. So we'll start with a little review of the CIP process. First, CIPs are financed from multiple funding sources. They include federal, state, county, and local funds. Some of those funding sources may have different restrictions regarding eligible projects, in regards to record retention, schedules, and required reporting. They often involve multiple levels of governmental oversight, coordination, approval, and auditing. This requires extensive coordination from all city departments, including the city attorney's office and related grantors. CIP project financial threshold in Costa Mesa is $30,000 or above. So anything that's below $30,000 is considered a building mod, which is also funded under a capital improvement, but they're lumped together, smaller projects, they're lumped together under one capital improvement project. By definition, the CIP projects are a multi-year program. Projects are typically not completed in 1 year. The next round of these demonstrate the next round of project priorities. Projects undergo 7 distinct phases over multiple years including project identification, where the initial concept, the basic idea is developed, the design phase, the bidding phase, contract selection and award, the actual construction phase, project completion, and of course, ongoing maintenance and repair of those projects. Recently, the city has won multiple awards over the years for different projects. We're very proud of the work that our public works people do. They're dedicated to producing high quality projects. Most recently, we received a reward for our 2023 Parking Program of the Year. It's fantastic. We're all very proud of that. I just want to provide a little update on current projects. I'll provide some contextual background. Public works projects are continuing to experience some significant challenges. Inflation is still a thing. Contractor participation has been low recently. There's been some labor shortages, and there's been delays in obtaining materials to complete projects. Despite all that, the group continues to deliver and make progress on various capital improvement projects. First up is our LED lighting improvement, this one specifically at the tennis center. This project is converting the existing lighting into LED lights that are actually made for, designed for a sports facility, a sports court, specifically for the tennis center. Work began on April 15th. The new poles have been set, the new conduits in place. They began installing the new fixtures this week, and they should be done with this project hopefully by the end of May. We have several other LED lighting improvement projects that are ongoing. Bark Park, currently 2 new poles. The foundations for 2 new poles were set towards the northernmost section of the park where there was insufficient lighting in the past. The new light fixtures are expected to arrive in late May. That's kind of an example of one of the delays that we're experiencing originally. Those were scheduled for delivery and production early April. So now we're pushed back a couple of months. T-Winkle Athletic Complex, work is scheduled to begin in July of this year. We're going to coordinate with the annual renovation when programming ends for that sports complex, so it'll have minimal to no impact on the user groups. And then following that, the Jack Hammond Sports Complex work would begin in August of 2004, following the training camp that will be conducted over the summer there. Next is the Ketchum-Light-Bolt expansion. Again, scope of work is expand the parkway, or expand the park by incorporating the parkway along Victoria Street, provide more play elements, hopefully some green space. The project is currently in the design phase. We've conducted multiple outreaches at the park. Most recent outreach was last night, as was mentioned. That was well attended, got some great feedback. There was the sticker boards that were shared. I saw Commissioner Wall throwing some stickers down on what he liked. There was some great feedback, not only on the sticker board, but the design team was there. They received comments from adults and from children alike, and logged those comments, and those all be considered in the next phases. The final concept is to be presented at the PAX Commission relatively soon. We're excited about that. There's a couple of the flyers that were posted. There is a QR code that is available. If you scan that QR code, that will take you to the city's website, and you can leave comments on the city's website. And there's also a telephone line that you can contact to provide feedback. Next is Shalimar Park. Again, was to add more play elements to this park, potentially increase park space. This is also in the design phase. The next outreach meeting will be held on Friday, May 17th at the park from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, we've had multiple meetings at the park, outreach meetings at the park. Again, the final concepts, once they're completed and everything's taken into consideration, we present it to the PAX Commission. There'll be another opportunity for the public to share their input on those design options. And again, just a couple samples of the flyer, the same with the QR code, and please feel free to scan that and leave comments on the city's website. The skate park expansion, again, this is expansion of the existing skate park at T-Winkle Park. Provide a dedicated area for young beginner skaters. It's currently in the design phase. The initial outreach meeting is scheduled for Saturday, May 11th. That's the day after tomorrow, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. There'll be additional outreach meetings to follow. And again, there's our flyers. There is a landing page on the city's website to provide comments and input on this project as well. Next, we have the Lions Park Cafe. This is for construction of a cafe adjacent to the lawn area and north of the Donald Duggan Library. The cafe will provide outdoor dining, complement the event lawn and the Lion Park campus. The plans are pending approval right now from City Planning Department and the OC Health Department. Construction is to begin in early June or immediately following the fish fry, depending on how much progress we can make, and we obviously don't want to interfere with that great event. The construction is expected to take about a year once it starts. A few things on Fairview Park. We have the 3 projects listed here. First, the Bluff project. So a preliminary review of the area has been completed by a geotechnical expert. A scope of work will be developed based on those findings, which will be presented and reviewed by the Fairview Park Steering Committee. From the input from the Steering Committee and those discussions, a request for bids will be developed following that process. The Mesa restoration, that's currently in the design phase. And then we have the wetlands improvements. Okay, on to the 24-25 proposed CIP projects. Fiscal year 24-25 CIP project budget meets the 5% capital asset needs, or the CAN ordinance requirement. Projects are identified based on City Council priorities, goals, and objectives, department requests, citywide infrastructure and facility needs assessments, commissions, committees, and community feedback. We have multiple funding sources for these projects. They include options for bonding. Those are related to future fire department projects. We have our regular general fund capital improvement, grant funds, gas tax funds. All of these have different requirements and could have different restrictions of where these money can be used. But there's a list of kind of where we get funding for these projects. In attachment 1, you can see, probably see it better in the attachment you have in front of you rather than the screen, but this kind of shows where each one of these projects and its funding sources. At the top of that page is all the funding sources that were just on that previous slide. The projects are listed to the left, and you can kind of go across and see exactly where that funding is coming from for that particular project. So on to the actual projects. First is a facility needs assessment study. There's currently $300,000 budgeted for that. This will kind of review Costa Mesa's 23 facilities. Many of those facilities are related to recreation, and this project will initiate facility needs assessment study and develop an implementational plan following that. On another note to that, there is another project that's been added in kind of conjunction with that. It's separate, but it's similar. Additional $150,000 has been added to perform a separate park assessment. So that'll review some of the needs in the parks, the playgrounds, things of that nature.
Just to clarify on that one. So that was proposed at the council study session. So it has to be still approved by the council at their formal adoption of the budget. So it was proposed by Councilmember Chavez, and that's something that's being considered right now.
Next is a senior center improvement. So another recreation-based facility for our seniors. A facility is in need of aesthetic improvements, paint, flooring, restroom renovation. The HVAC equipment is quite old and is failing. It's approaching its life expectancy. The roof has shown signs of deterioration, and another part of that project is proposing to install a new generator there. It currently does not have a generator. It does serve as a cooling center, so it'd be great to provide a backup power to that location. It's potentially could be used as a Red Cross station too in terms of disasters. So again, another need that would be filled there. Next, we have the Jack Hammett Sports Complex. As mentioned in some of the comments, this project would re-level and restore fields 1 and 2. These fields were originally built in the early 2000s. The condition of the fields have deteriorated over the years just due to normal settling of the soil, regular programming and special events. It's just become quite uneven throughout there, so this project will re-level and restore the fields back to their original condition and level them out. It'll help improve safety and playability of these fields. Next is Luke Davis Field improvements. Historically, this field has been maintained by a user group. So this project will decompact the infield dirt. It'll bring in 150 tons of infield mix. Just to put that in perspective, we do annually the fields at T-Winkle Athletic Complex. A single field in a year will bring in 25 tons of infield mix. So you can see this field right now needs about 150 tons. So that's enough to do the entire T-Winkle Athletic Complex and then some. So it's in need of some materials to put back in there. It'll laser level the infield, rebuild the pitcher's mound, install new batters and catcher's boxes, drag and water the infield, and roll and compact the new field. The work will improve the quality and playability of the infield, and then it'd be maintained following that. We're proposing to maintain that by under city contract. Next is the park and sidewalk accessibility. This is an annual project that replaces cracked and raised buckled concrete walkways at various city parks, eliminate trip hazards, improve walking conditions, and overall accessibility. A great example in the last couple years was T-Winkle Park that underwent this treatment and provided signage and great transitions throughout that park. So this another one, playground repairs and replacements, an annual project. Replaces separated or missing damaged rubber playground, worn out or damaged equipment, ensures that the playgrounds remain safe, usable, and aesthetically pleasing. This past year under this program, we were able to make repairs to 6 different playgrounds, which is fantastic. Replace things like decks, steps, posts, handrails, ladders, play panels, loops. We were able to do quite a bit of work. On the top picture, they're patching some of the rubberized surfacing at Angels Playground, and then you can see an example of a play piece that we were able to replace in its entirety that was failing and was getting to the point where it wasn't usable. Parkway and median improvement. This permanently repaired damaged areas in the public right-of-way, help construct ADA accessibility improvements, and replace existing or non-existent median and parkway landscape and irrigation systems with drought-tolerant landscape. That would include California native plants and state-of-the-art irrigation systems. Next, I'm happy to say that once again the city has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the Arbor Foundation. This is our 18th year, which is great. This project of tree planting and young tree care will help us maintain that designation, help improve the overall tree canopy, and be able to plant trees in areas that are deficient in tree planting. This is in addition to our Parkway tree planting program, as was highlighted earlier in comments, and any plantings associated with CIP projects. A great example is some of the street improvements that were done along Placentia Avenue not too long ago with the buffered bike lanes. We were able to add 39 new trees along that corridor as part of that project. So this is in addition to those. Tree planting is one part of providing and caring for the overall tree canopy. The initial tree care that's included in this project is vital to ensuring that these newly planted trees contribute to the expansion of the city's overall tree canopy down the road. A portion of this funding we're proposing to be used to fund a citywide tree canopy assessment that'll help us have some data to drive where our trees are planted and how they're maintained. So we're looking forward to that as well. T-Winkle Athletic Complex. So this is another, we request some additional funding to improve the drainage. The area we have really, our native soils are really heavy clay. They don't drain well. On top of that, I think there's about a 3-foot drop from the south to the north on some of those fields that where the water just collects So we're looking at ways to improve the drainage there, to keep those fields open for play as much as possible. Obviously, the last 2 years, we have some record rainfall. That's not helped us in that matter, but we're looking for ways to improve the drainage there, add security lighting, and add batting cages that'll modernize the complex. Next is the Wimbledon Park exercise equipment. So the equipment was installed in 2008. It's extremely popular with the local residents, used by the community. It's become badly worn. It's really exceeded its useful life. So this project will replace that aging equipment with new equipment, and that'll greatly enhance the safety and the usability as well as the aesthetics of that park. There's Fairview Park Master Plan implementation. Fairview Park Master Plan was originally adopted in 1998. Minor revisions were done in 2001, 2002, and in 2008. And currently in the process of a comprehensive update to that master plan. So the monies from this project will provide funding to begin to implement the enhancements and improvements in accordance with that new master plan. Some additional information. The 5-year plan is before you as attachment 2. Includes projects that are deferred, those are proposed. The 5-year plan is updated annually. It's based on goals and priorities by City Council, input from commissions, committees, and the community. Projects listed from 2 to 5 years for future planning purposes, and a plan for future grants. A lot of the grants we apply for, one of the questions in those grant applications is, do you have this in your budget? And so this helps us show that these are, in fact, included in our budget, included in our plan, and helps us obtain that funding at a later date. With the 5-year master plan, just want to say that the open space master plan will begin anew shortly. Completely, revising that, starting over. That 5-year CIP plan will be updated once the new open space master plan has been completed. I think we gleaned a lot of information from that original plan that have completed a lot of that work that was in that original plan, the draft part of it. So, but this new master plan will help us identify and clarify that 5-year CIP plan. Attachment 4, I think you've seen that before. That's our status of the various park projects. So any project that wasn't highlighted in my update previously, you'll see a little update in that attachment 4. Just some of the highlights again: LED lighting installations are starting now. All the projects under design phase: Ketchum Live-Bolt, Shalimar Park, skate park expansion, and the Fairview Park projects. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, the community meetings are being scheduled for all of those projects. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Obviously, Director Seth Rahman is here as well, and City Engineer Sung Yang.
Oh, great. At this time, before we take commissioners' questions, I will go to public comment. So those in the audience that would like to speak about the proposal here on the capital improvement program, please come forward. Okay, we'll go ahead and start.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Ralph Tabot. I'm a longtime resident. And I want to make clear my comments are directed at the process, not at individuals. I'm going to try and speak fast because 3 minutes goes quickly. I sent an email to the Commission yesterday and an attachment. I hope you had a chance to take a look at it. As I said in my email, I believe the capital review and approval process can and should be improved, and that the PACS Commission can play a role in that effort. A couple of weeks ago, staff presented the proposed capital plan to the Finance Committee. I'm a member of that committee. One thing missing, I believe, from this process is a baseline or a reference point. After the Finance Committee meeting, I made the comparison chart that I sent to you for this purpose. And Laura, do you want to go ahead and show that, please? Okay, so in the, every year Council approves the capital improvement program, as staff just mentioned. It lists programs the current year or the proposed year immediate future year, and then 5 years out and beyond. The shaded column is what's in the capital improvement program for the upcoming year, 24-25. That's what's been approved as in the budget, in the current budget. The column to the left is what has been proposed tonight that you saw just now from staff, and you can see the differences. And what I'm talking about is, now I know the priorities change. There's unanticipated events happen. Again, priorities change, things break, things have to be repaired. So the shaded area is not cast in concrete. However, changes to that, I believe, should be addressed and communicated. The process does not include what's in the CIP. What you saw tonight was just, this is what staff is proposing. There's no comparison. So you're not being able to make more informed decisions. For example, I appreciate Commissioner Wright mentioning, for the last 4 years, West Side Park development, that's been in the CIP, $2 to $3 million per year. Every year that's been deferred. That's not transparent to everybody. A Marina View Park, for the last 4 years, it was planned to have playground equipment budgeted this coming year. That's been deferred. Now, I'm not trying to weigh in on the priorities. That's up to you guys. I'm just talking about the process. I think the commission should be aware that this is what's in the CIP and this is what's being proposed, and take a look at those differences, discuss those differences. Is that the same priority that the commission has? I don't know, and I'm not trying to say it's good or bad. I'm just saying you need to be aware of these differences and these changes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Terry Lee. I'm a resident of Costa Mesa, and my whole family is here. My wife and my other son, Jordan, and James. And they are both avid baseball players who've been playing for many years, and we are here to express our support for the improvements at Tewinkle. And they both play in Costa Mesa Pony, and it's an incredible program that hundreds of families benefit from and enjoy the park on a regular basis. And I'll let my son speak to some of the improvements that we're hoping for.
Hi, I'm James, and I play baseball at Newport Harbor, and I play for Mayhem 16U, 18U team, which regularly plays at Tewinkle Park. And I think, first of all, I think Tewinkle Park is a very good facility. I think that the grass and the dirt quality is very nice, and I hear it from my teammates and the Frosh team from Newport Harbor, who Tewinkle Park was their home field this year because our Frosh field at Newport Harbor was not good at all, and they had no complaints. They thought it was very good. They won some games there, and long story short, I think it's very good. But I think that there could be some improvements. For example, the bullpen area where pitchers warm up. There is no home plate. There's no place to signify the actual distance between the mound and home plate, and that's just one example of something that I think that could be improved, because that helps the pitchers warm up for the game, and for hitters to warm up for the game. Batting cages, I think that's something that's missing, and I think there's space for that, and I think that would be a significant improvement for all the teams. For all the teams that come to play at Tewinkle Park, I think it would be a very nice improvement, and I don't have anything else to say. I think I really like Tewinkle Park, and I hope it can have some big improvements in the future.
In addition, it's great to see that the proposed improvements for drainage at the park, the Rain cancellations have been a really big issue that have prevented a lot of games from happening, and kids are just stuck at home at that point. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Old age. My knees hurt.
I'm sorry.
Greetings and good afternoon. Honorable Commissioners, thank you all so much. I'm here to express my full support of the proposed projects. The sole reason I'm here is I know that there's, parks do make life better. But I hope that you all also just continue prioritizing, a park that has been completely, in my opinion, been neglected for many years. It's sad to even call it a park, because if anybody in the city of Costa Mesa has actually visited, Shalimar, it needs a lot of work, and hopefully there is consideration potentially expanding the park. I've heard some of the youth here, and we've canvassed the community for 2 years. We've done a lot of data analysis, a lot of community input, a lot of surveys, a lot of workshops in the community. And yes, it does need work, as well as all the other parks as well. I'm not trying to take away anything, but I do hope if there is, and hopefully not in the foreseeable future, any financial troubles with monies, that please prioritize this park, as in, the youth are here, and they will validate that that park needs a lot of work to actually become I would call it an official park. On a side note, I do hope that if y'all do move forward, which it does look like it, right? But who knows, like, things happen, right? Lions Park is a very beautiful park, and I just hope that we also, that park receives the same amount of attention and some of the recreational, how do I say this, playgrounds. Because where I live in the city of Huntington Beach. I work here, I have family that works here, and I work with youth here. My sister lives on 1981 Wallace. And in Huntington Beach, we have a nonprofit by the name of Kaboom. I don't know if y'all know Kaboom, but in my opinion, in Oakview Center Park, where I reside, in the Oakview predominant Latino community, I've seen Kaboom projects in low-income neighborhoods, very, I would say, substandard equipment compared to other parks that you see. I've been to parks in Anaheim, beautiful parks. The one in Lyon Parks is amazing. They got an awesome zip line, by the way, which I haven't used yet, but I want to do it. I want to try it out. So hopefully y'all will take into consideration some of the equipment there, because I know that the park where I reside in Huntington Beach, it's like less than half of the park area. There's only like half equipment there, and the other half of the park, there's no equipment. So just be thoughtful, and just hopefully we all obviously are going to be part of the decision-making process and proposed plans. But other than that, I hope you all have a great weekend, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have a few others from the audience here.
Hello there. I'm Steven. I represent Costa Mesa Select Pony as well. Coach Ben came up earlier and chatted. I wanted to stress a couple things on the renovation of both Luke Davis and Tewinkle Park. Something that has been proposed that I didn't see on the report there is putting in bases that are smaller at Luke Davis Field. Right now, with the current bases, only the, I think, 11U and older can play. So part of the renovation, it's not that expensive. You just put in a metal thing that holds in the bases. It would make it playable for the younger ages as well. I really like the framework for Luke Davis as one of the nicer fields if it's renovated, the dirt and the grass, as well as Tewinkle Field. We've been saying how nice it is, but the drainage system that we've been talking about, I've coached there for 4 seasons now. There's been periods where over a month of the time it's rained out just over and over, where there's other fields that have proper drainage that after a day or two of rain, they're opened up and able to play on. So the drainage system is super important, that it gets expedited as well as is approved, because the longer it waits, each spring that follows up, there could be a month of time when we start our season where the kids aren't able to play. And the batting cages as well are super important. a month ago, we had the World Series champion pony team in here celebrated for being the best team in the world. So to continue with that and support them as long as the other 150 kids in our program, as well as the girls softball, men's softball, the Little League who use T-Winkle, having the batting cages there would be very helpful to their growth. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy to see all this upgrade plan for Costa Mesa, and I'm really excited to see if there's anything I would like to add into consideration. It's definitely more lighting and exercise equipment for all the parks. I don't know if it's feasible, but if this is something that I have seen at some park, and it's really a great way to bring community together, have more exercise, have a better and healthy life. So I live right next to Polarino Park, and I would love to see some exercise equipment, especially for residents who don't have access to the gym and that could find a way to exercise without paying money. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in the audience? All right, and we'll turn it over to those virtual.
If there are any Zoom attendees who wish to speak pertaining to this item, please raise your hand. There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn it over to the commissioners for questions and comments. This time I'll move over and I'll ask for Commissioner Glab to see what questions and comments you have.
No comments.
Thank you. So Commissioner Garcia Arcos. Okay.
I'm really excited. I was able to attend the Shalimar and Ketchum meeting that we had, and it's fabulous to see that they're so willing to open up to the community and hear more output. I'm really excited for this meeting, and I know a lot of the community members are very, very excited, and I'm looking forward to that. Also, just a huge shout out for Tree City of USA, 18 years. Wow, that's amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, just wanted to, I did also have a question if I could. What is Young Tree Care Program? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's just providing that initial care for trees when they're first planted. It's critical in the first 3 to 5 years to make sure that they're not settling and sinking down into the soil, making sure that they're at the proper grade. Sometimes after plantings, new trees have a tendency to kind of sink, especially in our clay soils. Adjusting tree stakes, making sure that if trees develop a second leader, which is another branch that would compete with the main central leader, that's subordinated and removed, and the tree grows properly and upright, and the structure remains intact. This ensures proper canopy spread as it grows, reduces future risk as the tree grows and becomes larger, reduces the chances for limb drop. So again, that in the first 3 to 5 years is when you can address those issues. Once the tree starts getting bigger than that, it becomes a lot more difficult and detrimental to the tree to try to make corrections past that point. So this will focus on those newly planted trees to make sure that they're receiving that proper care.
Thank you for explaining that. I did have another question on that. Is 150,000 enough? How many trees can you care for with that amount?
So for the small tree care, that's a good amount, and I think that'll expand to not just our newly planted trees. We're looking at up to 200 trees to plant and care for. That funding will also help provide some initial care for trees outside of those planted trees. So even trees that are newly planted this last year at Arbor Day or at Love Costa Mesa, or along Placentia Avenue, any new tree that is in with that 3 to 5 year range will be covered under a portion of that funding.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll move to my left, Commissioner Rutherford. I'm sure you have questions and comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few questions. Want to thank Rob, Raja, and the whole team for excellent presentation as always. Really exciting to see some of the projects come to fruition through the city grant funding, because some of those have been a journey, like with Shalimar Park and Ketchum-Leibelt Park to ultimately get to this point. So definitely appreciate and recognize your hard work. And also wanted to say, and I know Mr. Taboda spoke about this as well, but I really appreciate that we now have the draft CIP status report that's included, that's tracking each of the projects that have already been funded and approved in prior years. I know that's been something we talked about for a while on here, and we've started including in the most recent months. And this is actually, I think, the first like official CIP process where we've had that included as well. So I just want to thank you for that. I think that's an improvement for transparency, tracking, and updating on projects. So just wanted to call that out and say thank you. Glad to see that. Just had a couple of comments, starting with the old CIP list. And this had come to mind just because I've seen it done on other projects at other facilities. So with the LED lighting upgrades that are happening, you're putting in new lights that are more energy efficient, right? So there's going to be a energy savings, especially when you do that across the whole site with many lights. So I'd be curious to know like the total amperage savings with that project. And of course, there's a need for EV chargers. We're behind on public EV charging. So that could, I've seen it done on other projects with the LED retrofits. Consider putting a couple of chargers. $500, $1,000, grab a few chargers, put them out there, and let's get some more public charging out with that available extra amperage that we freed up. So just a consideration, doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. So definitely something that came to mind when looking at that. And then also just wanted to ask about the Lions Park Cafe project that you're underway with. Is there a vendor selected or engaged at all that's going to end up operating the cafe, or is that going to be determined later on?
So Commissioner Rutherford, that's a separate process that will happen down the road. It'll be led by our city manager's office, and there'll be an RFP out for that. We are about a year and a half away at least for the cafe to be open. So there is time for us to go through that process.
Awesome. Comments on the new CIP. Rob, I know you had mentioned a tree canopy assessment and doing a new study or something. I actually think there's a lot of good work that's already been done in terms of tree canopy assessments. Literally just last week, I saw a new study that was actually analyzing tree canopy coverage at school districts across Southern California. So maybe we could take a look at some of the research that's already been done on that front to save us some funds. And also wanted to share, we don't necessarily always have to, go to a private consulting group to hire them if we need a new study or report done. Something I've done in the past, for example, when I worked at United Way, we actually, instead of paying a consulting group to run a study, we went to UCI and partnered with the School of Social Ecology to run a report. And I know a number of other organizations have done that. The school actually has a Livable Cities lab that's very open to those kind of partnerships, potentially with some funding from the city, but we get way more bang for our buck if we go that route, right? So instead of spending $50,000 or $100,000 with a consultant for a study, maybe you can get the same study for $10,000 or $15,000. Just an idea, wanted to put that out there. That's the UCI Livable Cities Lab, and I could put you in touch with the director. And I think there's a lot of work that's already been done though on the tree canopy stuff that maybe we could surface. And on that same vein, just the total cost for the Fairview Park master plan just seems really high, right? $200,000 for a piece of paper. And I think sometimes with local government, we kill ourselves with planning sometimes. Now, I'm not to say that this is not an important plan. I think, it's widely recognized Fairview Park is the gem of Costa Mesa. It's the largest piece of open space in the city. But I really think it's important not to kill ourselves with too much planning on this. I think $200,000 for a plan. I mean, I would love to see some more of that funding be spent on, actually executing the projects or going towards some of the things that the Fairview Park Steering Committee is working on, or working with an entity like UCI to achieve some savings with the planning process. So those are my pieces of feedback, and thank you again for a great presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll move to Commissioner Wall.
Well, I had two questions, but one I can check off because Commissioner Rutherford already asked a question about the cafe. So I'll move on to my question about Jack Hammett. And that is, on the slide that you showed, the work is about to begin pretty soon on Jack Hammett. So my question is, will that be impacted at all if the Raiders come to town? Because I know there's a lot of buzz going on right now about the Raiders possibly using Jack Hammett as a camp facility for at least a year anyway.
Are you speaking to the releveling of the fields or the
Yes.
lighting project?
Level.
So the releveling, we'd obviously do that in down times when those fields wouldn't be in use, and in order to have the minimum impact on any user group that's going to be utilizing those fields. Okay. So that wouldn't happen until, if approved, late next year, at the next opportunity, next renovation period.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Wall. All right, now we move to Commissioner Wright.
Oh, whoops, I just accidentally clicked make a motion. Can I undo it? Okay, cool. Hi. I do have questions. Okay, to start, I kind of just want to start like high level to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So, okay, I'm looking at what was shared with us, the comparison. So this capital improvement program, like we're basically comparing to what got approved by council last year to then what is getting proposed for this fiscal year, right? I think what would be really helpful would be to see historical actuals of what we ended up spending last year to compare to as well. Has council ever asked for that too? Or will that be in the next meeting about the budget?
So as part of our city council reports, we do present with them a list of ongoing and completed projects that they do see that. It's not, so for example, if you ask for, last year we approved $15 million on various park projects and how much we spent, you'll see very little movement on those other than, very little bit of consulting work here and there. So the CIP is a little different from any other budget because the projects go at a different pace. Some projects are faster and we get it done and we report to council that it's completed. And some other projects take multiple years, like what we are seeing with Shalimar or with Ketchum Live Bolt and even the skate park. We got funding year ago, but we are now getting into the design. It takes time for us to get to this process. And now it's going to move forward very fast and we're going to get it done. So well, we provide them with how much is spent. They see that. They see that in their how much is remaining in the contract with every single ongoing project. It's available for council, but it's not something we have it at this point, but we can provide that to you.
That would be great because I think that could also inform why changes happen, right? So I guess the process weakness that's being highlighted is there really isn't transparency or a reason to why things maybe increase or decrease, which does, lead me to my question, which if we could kind of summarize these in some categories, could you just briefly, like 1 or 2 sentences, share why, let's say, let's just group them together. The Fairview Park ones, why did those get paused? Is it because of the CIP that's already going on, or?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. The Fairview Park, there's a master plan in process right now, and that will dictate us down the road how and what projects should be funded. Right now, what you see are more like placeholders on our 5-year CIP. We did, the next one I want to talk about is the park projects. We did consider Harper Park.
The neighborhood parks, yeah,
The Harper Park, we did consider
Marina View.
and the Wimbledon Park. And we want to do all of them, but the budget is limiting. At this point, we can pick only one. And what the information that we got from our park staff is, if we don't fix the exercise equipment at Wimbledon Park, we should remove them.
It's a risk.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
So it's, whereas at Harper and Marina View, they are outdated, they're older playground, but they are not unsafe. They're still actively, they're used, and we maintain them, and they're in working condition. So we kind of went through that, and we could do one park, and we picked the Wimbledon Park. Otherwise, we have to pretty much remove the exercise equipment, and then it would be fine. But
Yeah, so for, my peers sitting up here, there's only 3 that haven't changed from last year to this year. What got approved last year to what's getting changed this year, just in this little summary. And the big picture one, I know a lot more have stayed the same. So I do think it's important to kind of dig in and ask, like, why are some things increasing so drastically versus why do some things get pushed off, especially when it's neighborhood parks, because that's what our constituents see the most with their eyes and are asking all of us about. And that also seemed to be what council was most curious about in refunding, in a sense. So yeah, could you speak to the 3 sports complex increases? So Jack Hammett, Luke Davis, and T. Winkle. What's the context? Was it the facility review plan process that kind of bumped those up on your radar?
So Luke Davis kind of moved up just because in this fiscal year, actually, the council made a decision to open the park for the public. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so that created
Which is great.
a necessity for us to make sure that that is maintained at a higher level, because there is a little bit more impact to the park. So we need to address that. At T. Winkle Athletic Complex, our maintenance manager can talk more about it, but we did hear about the issues we had with the recent rains we had. Multiple days the park was closed, and we would get calls from user groups. I've taken and fielded many calls in that, and so does Mr. Ryan here. So there is a need to address the drainage in that park. And then at Jack Hammett, it's again similar situation. The fields 3 and 4 were renovated by the Chargers a few years ago, and they're in great condition. But the fields 1 and 2 are uneven, and they need to be leveled and fixed. The main reason why that got that kind of funding is because Chargers over the last few years have been contributing $150,000 per year into Jack Hammett Fund. That didn't exist a few years ago, right? So that's a new fund that we have access to now, and we could use that fund to implement those fields 1 and 2 improvement. So that's why it's a new thing that got added because we got that funding opportunity.
Yeah, it's so interesting, to hear all the knowledge behind every change. I'm curious, how do you weigh seasonality in weather correlated with complaints? Like, when there's high rain, I'm sure we get lots of complaints related to drainage and flooding, but then when we have the hottest summer ever, we get complaints about shading and our parks being too hot. How do you guys project into the future in light of not knowing what weather we'll have?
I mean, we want to make sure that our parks are accessible to all and at all times. So whenever we do renovations, we look for improvements that incorporate shade. Now that's very important that we are trying to do that. and it's something that I think this park assessment study that Councilman Chavez was asking for is that we look at every single park to see what's needed and plan and program it, and I think that'll help a lot in identifying those.
Yeah, that's a tough job. Thank you. So for just this part, I have more. I would like us to make a recommendation that moving forward changes get just footnoted with reasons why compared to previous year, what council approved. One, not just for us nerdy people who actually read these and go to those meetings, but for the public who may have been excited about an improvement coming to their park and not knowing why it's getting moved. Looks like you want to say something.
No, you keep.
Oh, okay.
Keep going. I'm watching notes being written over there.
Cool. Okay, so now I have a question about like all of our ongoing projects. I don't see them in here. Is that on purpose? So like Brentwood Park, skate park expansion, not that now I'm moving off of this document. Now I'm moving on to the attachments. Are those purposefully not, are those in a different budget somewhere else?
Brentwood, I believe, is included in attachment 4. Might be the last page.
Draft pack CIP status?
Correct.
That one?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm wondering why it's not in this, the like finance.
So what you're seeing in attachment 1 is the proposed next year CIP. So Brentwood is part of the ongoing CIP projects, and it's listed. So we have all the park projects. We're tracking them in this attachment 4. That you see that gives you a lot more detail than.
And it's also not in the 5-year, but that's because it's part of like.
It's already funded.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
it's already previously funded.
That's what I was wondering. So.
Yeah, anything that's previously funded won't show up in those two plans. It's already in the books.
These serve as like future projections.
Exactly.
That's why you're talking about putting stuff out to bid for grants and stuff, right? Okay. That's good. See, it's kind of like I wouldn't know what I'm looking at if I didn't ask that. So that includes T. Winkle Lake. So all this stuff we reviewed last year that got funded is not going to be in here, even though it's already in motion and not even fully spent, obviously. Okay, thanks. Okay, bear with me. I have a lot of notes. I thought Jen Tanaka's comments on funding neighborhood parks was really interesting. What were your thoughts on the recommendation of combining bids for playground equipments at different parks, or almost like prioritizing neighborhood parks from general funds because it's very unlikely that those will be CIPs? What do you think? I know some of those are just her opinions or suggestions. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
So we have done that in the past. Most recently, be Tanager Park and Jordan Park.
Cool.
So the equipment was purchased through Sourcewell. The installation was bid out together, and those projects were completed in that same year. There's positives and negatives to doing that. Contractors there and ready to do both projects. Like all contractors, they want to get done with the big stuff and move on to the next one. So sometimes it's a little difficult to get them back and finish up small little minor details on the first park. They're already moving on. So overall, it was a positive experience. So it's something we have done in the past prior to these grants. We've done some smaller maintenance replacements. Another one would be Pinkley Park. These are ones that are keep within the existing footprint. They're not a complete redesign. We're not expanding. We're not creating that Lions Park huge project, but they're more
under the 30 grand, right?
No. Those are not under the 30 grand. But they keep within that same footprint. It's kind of replacing like for like without expanding a whole lot. So those are the projects we've done on that scale.
So the notion that park neighborhood park maintenance can be ad hoc at times isn't always true. We have done combo projects before,
We have.
and you liked it, so you would maybe do it again.
I will do as
If
many.
it's best suited for the
As many parks
project.
as the budget will allow me to do.
Love that. Let's make space in the budget. Okay, now I have a question about all the feedback council was giving on this like facilities review process versus a parks review process, and you guys actually mentioned it in the presentation, so it sounds like you are down. But what do you think is missing from the current process? Like, I know we already do a playground maintenance review, so do you think they were talking more about like general park, like bigger than that, and that we need a better review process for the park as a whole? Like, what do you think was missing and why they were recommending we have a better park review process?
I think an overall review process would help provide for a long-term plan of park replacement. Right now, we have multiple parks. I want to say close to half our parks, playground equipment that are kind of approaching that 30-year, 25-year-old range, and it's quite a few of them. So I think that would help provide some insight in prioritizing those. We do have a process that we review every year. Park staff goes through and reviews all the parks and inspects the parks, certified playground inspector, and makes recommendations based on that. But I think a review
That's great.
Would help evaluate the overall process.
Yeah, some of the city processes are generally focused on maintaining the safety of the equipment too. So that's what we do. We want to make sure that whatever is out there is safe to use, and if there is broken slide, we fix it. But this one will probably reimagine the whole playground and see what can be done at various playgrounds that are aging, and come up with a plan of which is the highest priority, and then that will help us down the road.
Great. I mean, I'm in full support of it, but I want to make sure that we understand what is currently already being evaluated on a regular basis. And plus, I know complaints come in if they are safety related or maybe even cosmetic related. So I'm all for it. But I realized I wasn't clear on what is we're missing. Okay, I actually think those are all my questions. I do want to end on what my understanding is of our role is that we make recommendations. So is this, the next meeting about this will be an operating budget? Is that true to council?
So the next study session is on the operating budget.
Cool.
And then in June, the full budget goes to the city council.
And I remember last year we were given like 3 options, and it was the distribution of the spending. Is that going to happen again this year?
I don't recall that.
You guys don't remember that? It was fun. It was like option A, B, and C, and it was, say we have, I mean, I'm seeing right here, $1 million in CIPs. A few of them were redistributed. And
I think that might have been related to the grants opportunities that we had.
The surplus, right?
Well, there's two things. There's a surplus that's generally talked about and how that gets allocated at those meetings. There was also an opportunity to weigh in on the $10 million grant from Senator Min's office. There was some required projects that he had pre-selected, and I think there was some opportunity to look at different aspects of that $10 million grant.
Yeah, it might have been that one. So that's not going to be related to.
Commissioner, was it at the council level or at the commissioner level?
That was definitely council.
Yeah, that's what you threw me off. So yeah, at the council level,
That was bigger than us.
There was a surplus amount that they had different options of how to allocate if it's a 4 million surplus, how it should be spent, how it should be allocated, 6 million, how it should be allocated, and that multiple options for that. So yeah, down the road, that usually comes early in the calendar year when they finish off the fiscal year budget, final budget, summaries, and see if there is surplus money left over, how to allocate that surplus.
So I had that image in my mind because I was trying to wrap up and say, so my understanding of our role is to make recommendations to council, maybe some type of motion. And really what I heard from their study session was a focus on neighborhood parks. And really clearly here, we have a couple of neighborhood park projects that got pushed off. And so I would like to recommend some creative way to push those back up as a priority. I'd also like to make a recommendation that when changes are made from what was previously approved, that there's footnotes for why those changes were made. And then this one's more related to when we had the community come in. I would really like to see adding community gardens to the CIP plan somewhere, either at existing parks or a new plot of land or space for community gardens, especially since I think there's like a 2-year wait list for our community gardens. So it's really needed. It's a highly successful program. It's revenue generating. So yeah, I think those are all my remarks on CIPs. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you. A lot has been said, a lot of it that I've been part of that. I know I cannot read in Vice Chair Brown's comments, and I know she forwarded them to our director. Overall, her concerns was process, which is what we've all talked about, a little bit of transparency. And her big example was, because it affects her neighborhood, is the continuum of putting off of what they're calling the west side park development. We know it's a multi-year process that the city council keeps putting off, but her question had a lot to do with it's a significant amount of money that keeps getting planned and keeps getting pulled off. So I know she'll be following up with our director and some of your staff. I can't really read her notes according to the Brown Act, and she has to be here and submit it, but I know that that's some of the concerns I've heard tonight, and that our citizen brought up too, is how to understand the continuum of the projects and understand when projects come off, the reasoning of it. Like we had heard tonight, there's some emergencies that come up, and for example, where you have play equipment was suddenly is a health hazard. Well, if you only have $300,000, then that play equipment may need to be repaired versus another one, but it'd be important long-term to understand that. Couple things, and I have to admit that I'm a total baseball mom, president of the Newport Harbor Baseball Association when my little guys were little, and also part of our little soccer, our AYSO Soccer 97. So I really appreciate hearing the drainage. And even though we talk about when there's like wet seasons or not season, but the one thing is consistently, if there's good drainage on fields, on play fields, you can get back to it. Doesn't matter how much it rains or how little it rains, though if you look at, I hate to say, but the city of Irvine is like impeccable. Part of it is they don't let you run on the field for a day or two. They take almost too good of care, but that way the fields are in use much more often. So I appreciate that staff went and did that, and I understand the batting cages. That's for both softball and baseball and our youth and our adult leagues and things. One of the things when I hear about collaboration is Supervisor Foley just reached out to me in my other role, and she's having a procurement alliance meeting so that we understand in our different agencies how the county can join forces for the procurement and the purchase of equipment and things, because they also have parks, and obviously, so I would love to see some staff go to that. I'll forward it to the director. I just received it today. But she really understands, having been, city council and a mayor here and a school board member, how critical those joint efforts are, because you can maybe buy a slide, for example, if we do it as an individual for $5,000, where if the county and the city and other cities join forces, it moves to $1,000. So that is a better process. So I know that just came up. The other one is really interesting about the cooling centers, and I'd love to see if we can collaborate with, like Orange Coast College and some of these other facilities to see if we can join forces. And that, I understand we need to fix and have generators and things, but I would really like to understand how we join forces to understand the resources we have that can serve our community. So it's not on all shoulders, but it's on combined shoulders. Thank you for answering the question at Davis Field, because there was one thing about user groups used to pay and now they don't, so that was my question. But it's because it's now open to the public, so it's not locked down, so people can go and play ball, but now we have to take care of it as far as all that goes. One of the things I keep hearing from everybody, and it's a tough time in the cycle to be making projects come forward and pay without an analysis. I would like to see, not as just chair, but as a member, I'd like us to see if we can have a study session as a PACS commission, maybe through the system. One of the things I do know is the budget starts planning July 1st. And so I wonder if we can have a study session separate, and even if we have to have a separate PACS commission meeting or a light one where we really understand the process, what's being developed, what is staff, what's the finite dollar amount we're dealing with, you know, because we have these grants, but we also have, like, I didn't realize Hammett Field had its own funding source, which is great. But also I know that developer fees, and now hopefully we'll be having more development for easing our housing. So I think that would help us all and help the public, and if we can do that, because then we can, through the information that we seem to want, which is what was proposed last year and the year before that was supposed to be funded and it's not, so why was it not funded, and why are some of these huge amounts being offset? And ultimately, we're the advisory that we vote on this to approve what this, that we agree that overall this is something for right now, and then we move it to the city council. And as we saw, city council does what the city council does, and they decide which of these CIPs and things come off. So I just, this, and the report of the project details of which money was coming in and where everything is, and having the CIP status has been critical that we have never received in all my time here. And I think Commissioner Rutherford, you were on longer than me, and I don't think any of that was ever done. So, so that's my comments. I don't know if anybody has anything else. We do, it is, isn't it, we recommend to the city for the city council to take up. Is that my understanding? Is it an actionable item? Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly add one more comment, because I know we're just making comments to the city council. But I know Mr. Taboda touched on this earlier about, you know, some things are deferred and moved around from year to year, and that makes sense. We don't expect everything to stay the same, but it is, I definitely think it is helpful to have that comparison, because one of the things, and that's part of the reason I brought up the EV charging stations, that's been one of those things that keeps getting pushed out, right? Maybe we're hoping for grant funding, but other cities are built, you know, Irvine has 160 level 2 chargers in the parking lot at the Gray Park of that sports facility, as an example. So we are seeing other cities build out their public charging infrastructure. And I think that's a critical, I mean, all of the stuff we're talking about is important, but so is saving the planet and cleaning up our air. So that's a critical, I hope that's a critical priority. Maybe something we can do in a cost-effective way with the LED retrofits as well. So just wanted to add that I really hope that's a priority, or we can get creative and, you know, a few $1,000s here and there, include that in various projects that are already underway.
I can tell you this fast charger here, people run up all day long. We're the only fast charger around, if you're not a Tesla, is our one fast charger here. And it's significant if we expect to do the infrastructure. And I know that pays more because they charge more for that, for that process. So that's not in our purview, but that's important for the city as far as infrastructure. And if also any park increase in development, you could add chargers. And I know part of it goes to the city and part of it goes to maintaining. You would know this, Commissioner, better than any of us.
Well, I'm just, a lot of other cities across the country are budgeting it. Parks departments are. Parks departments in places like Hawaii and Michigan and New York are budgeting for EV chargers, and it doesn't, like fast charging is not the most common, right? The most common type of charging is AC level 2 charging, and those can be affordable and easy to put in, especially if you plan it right. So I think, and I know that the city team here is some very smart folks. So that would be my encouragement, is to think about, especially in areas where, you know, there's may already be electrical work being done, and it could potentially be cost effective to do it as part of that project.
Any other comments or follow-up? So we do have a proposed one-year CIP before us. which has the items that the city staff has suggested that would meet the needs that, and I know there was almost 5 million, 3 million of it was the West Side Park. It's at about 1.1 million, a little more. And that has to do with the CIP projects for next year, nothing to do with the grant money or anything that's in work. So I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion that we propose the CIP, one-year CIP as proposed, and then bring it up to the city council for final ratification.
So could we do, I kind of have two motions, or maybe a two-part one motion. One is more about a recommendation on this process of transparency between changes and showing the previous year and the current year proposal with a highlight of changes and comments of why.
So that's more of a change of process, which is different than a proposal to the city council. So I would love to hear from the director of how he looks at that, because that's an action item that's not agendized, which is different. So we can't vote on this right now, but this is something I'd like to hear the director, if that's okay with you, Commissioner Wright. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, I can answer that. The 5-year CIP, I mean, it's a little confusing when we have the 5-year CIP and the 1-year CIP and you make comparisons. A 5-year CIP, we pretty much put, for example, in the general plan circulation element, we have a lot of projects in the general plan circulation element. Even the active transportation plan that we prepared has many bicycle projects. We put every single project in the 5-year CIP, just because we are looking for funding in the future. We are looking for grant funding. So it's intended more of a planning document. It's not set in stone that that's the order that we implement the projects. Every year, we go through a very rigorous process of evaluating the CIP with different groups. We work with the Active Transportation Committee to see what are their needs for the next year. I think it went to Fairview Park Steering Committee too, as to what projects they are looking for in the CIP. And we hear from you as a commission throughout the year as to what you like to see down the road. And all that is factored in, the council goals and priorities for their year, whatever their goals are. And so every year, the 1-year CIP is the one that's analyzed the most and thought out. We spend months on that 1-year CIP. Rest of the projects are thrown in the future years, between years 2 and 5, and even we added a future year, because generally cities have a 7-year CIP, and for some reason, Costa Mesa said we'll do a 5-year CIP, and we kept a 5-year CIP, but to meet other county requirements, we put a future column that takes care of the 7-year requirement. So while there are some projects in the 5-year next year, for example, we moved it to next year. Anything that we considered and did not fund automatically goes into the second year, to the next year, immediate next year. So you'll see a bunch of those projects in there. But for the 1 year, we actually, it's evaluated on its own terms on an annual basis. And a bunch of projects that you see, many projects that you see on the 1 year, for this fiscal year, you see on the facility side. And they also came out of our review of facilities during the rainy season. We saw leaks in Norma Herzog. We saw leaks at Senior Center, our police department facility. They became projects now. We did not even think about that. Like the PD project wasn't even in our minds. Well, Senior Center was, but PD Center was not in our mind. But then we had to add that because we noticed that we had leaks and we need to address them. So some things get added in because of the need that is established during a fiscal year. And if we cannot wait, we do an emergency project. It's not that if it's safety, we do an emergency project, but we follow the process of going through the CIP every year. So it's hard to compare second year and say, okay, now that's exactly what we're going to do next year. Our funding changes. The money we get from different sources, we have to look at it and see, can we do everything that we think we can do? And then that limits what we can consider. Even for this 47 projects that you see on the list, we started with like 65 or 70 projects with a lot more funding. And then our city manager and they look at it and say, we don't have 20 million of CIP funding available. We need to cut it down to 9 million.
So if I can understand, and you help me here, Commissioner Wright, because you and I look confused. So I think the question is not what you're doing is wrong. It's trying to understand the process when it goes to the wish list. Because if you don't plan, you can never then get the grants, or you don't understand, or the community has spoken, then the reality of what's the emergency, what's the break, what is you can continue to do. So that's the part I'm trying to grapple with, that I hear us commissioners want to understand what's moving from a wish list to a plan, and the process to move to the plan, and the sort of like a study session so we understand, and whether it's in September, October, when you kind of know what's going on, then it would give us and the public an understanding of it's not arbitrary, it's not capricious, it's what is needed. Is that something, Commissioner Wright, so that way we understand how it's going from it's going to be funded again next year, and or it's going to be pushed out, or this is what's happening. So we're given more like an interim report kind of thing, or an understanding of where we're headed versus the wish list.
I think I do have a clarifying question for him, if I can ask.
Oh, please do.
So I understand the purpose of the 5-year. I think if I were to boil down my question, though, as far as the purview of our feedback and what we are allowed to recommend to City Council is specifically, are we allowed to make a recommendation about the format in which what was approved last year is just compared to what is getting recommended now for this year? Is that are we allowed to make a process recommendation, or are we only here to make recommendations based off of the contents of what is being funded and the priorities of them?
So I would like to take the opportunity that Madam Chair had for a study session on the CIP process, maybe sometime in October timeframe. That's kind of away from this whole time period to talk more about that. You can definitely make recommendations as to, for example, if we did not include Harper Park or Marina View Park and you want to include them, you can recommend that to the City Council, that please, that
Cool.
asking them to include them.
So if it's process-related study session, if it's content-related, we can make a motion on
You
that.
can make a motion on that. So if you can
Which
definitely
answers
say,
the original question I
Yeah.
asked about
Yeah.
a motion.
yeah, you can say you approve this, but you also want us to consider these other projects.
And we have Commissioner Rutherford would like to make a comment.
Well, sure, I'll let Commissioner Wright make the motion. It sounds like she's itching to do so. But just on a process note, like with all due respect to my fellow commissioners who I love and respect very much, but like the last thing we need is another meeting, right? Like we honestly have a study session every month, which is what we're doing here. And so I don't think we need another study session, throw it on the agenda at an upcoming meeting. But I think like, and that's on all of us, right? Like we need to think about how do we make government do more with less, right? Because the challenges in the world are not getting easier. They're not going to get lighter. So we need to think about how to do more with less, be more efficient and effective with our time. So I don't, if possible, less meetings.
So it sounds like any more questions or comments? Because it sounds like Commissioner Wright's ready to make a motion.
Sure, I can make one. Okay, I make a motion to recommend to City Council that we explore reprioritizing the neighborhood park projects for this year rather than pushing them. Period.
So your motion, if I understand, is to reprioritize, but it's not saying what to reprioritize?
The neighborhood parks category. So I would say, I mean, I think they would know what that refers to. Do we want to list specific parks? I'm seeing heads nodding.
I'm very confused. Neighborhood parks encompasses a lot. So there's a listing in the 5-year. Did you want to name the neighborhood parks you would want to put into the CIP and the amount of each one so that the city council understands it? The better the clarity, the more we as commissioners understand the priority and the more they will understand what we're talking about. So if you're talking about from the CIP 5-year, for example, Jordan Park, to move it up, so you're adding that amount to the CIP, or are you going to remove something off what the staff is proposing?
I can be more specific.
Okay.
So specifically, the neighborhood park projects that were already approved last year and are now being deferred this year. So that is Geisler Park, Harper Park, Lions Park, Marina View Park. Wimbledon Park is not getting moved, but that's an example of one that was approved and is maintaining its position.
So what you're saying is Geisler Park, the pole replacement, was approved last year? I don't believe it was.
Oh.
Commissioner Wright. These are what was proposed last year that were pushed back, but aren't even on this year.
So were proposed last year and are getting
And
pushed one more year.
Correct, so it's getting pushed off one more year.
So that's what I'm going from. What was proposed was already going to have movement last year and is now getting pushed again.
So are you proposing, so name the ones that you want to, and whether you want to add to that to increase the amount, or what you're going to remove from the $1,055,000 so it stays at the $1,055,000.
So I haven't crunched numbers. That's why I wanted to leave it. The way I have seen it play out in council is it's between them and city staff to kind of decide how the numbers even out.
But we're an advisory that's specific, I see. But if you want to try to, if your proposal, I don't want to mess with your, and we'll see if everyone else on the commission agrees, to have it general, but are you proposing a dollar figure that was on there? That's the part that I'm confused, because part of this process is to give them specifics of what we propose and what the dollar figure is. And you're right, then they go and they play with it. Then they figure out whether they're going to approve, they bring stuff in. But
Yeah, and
ours is an
even
advisory.
their feedback was pretty general, considering it was a first study session. So this kind of feedback of putting more priority back into neighborhood parks was kind of what I was going off of. I mean, just ballpark. I'm looking at about 400K.
So
400K back into Geisler, Harper.
Okay, so go slow. So it's Geisler, it's Harper,
Lions Park, so that's 50.
Lions.
So that now we're at 230.
Okay.
Keeping Marina. So I'm at 230 plus 190. And we'll stop there.
Okay. So if we can, so that we understand what we're voting on. So you're approving the current proposed in addition to adding in Geisler Park light poles, Harper Park playground replacement, Lions Park open space improvements, and Marina View Park playground replacement. Okay. So she's made a motion. Do we have a second?
Is there any discussion allowed at this? Or?
No, we have to have a
Okay.
motion, a second, or it doesn't. We don't even.
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and now we'll start discussion. So Commissioner Rutherford.
Yeah, I think it's a good motion because I think all of those things need to be included, but it seems like we're tight on the budget this year. There's only $1 million total budgeted for Costa Mesa parks compared to, for example, like $25 million for various facilities. But I also think that's because we got a lot of grant money and we need to work through those projects as well. So I don't know if and it doesn't seem like there's any, on the list of current park projects for this fiscal year, out of everything that's being proposed, all of it looks fairly essential. Like the testimony we heard from the sports teams about the work that needs to be done at the fields. As you mentioned, Commissioner Wright, or somebody mentioned, the Wimbledon Park equipment is in serious need of replacement. Some of these things I feel like are overdue, and I think we have the bare minimum here, and I don't know where we're gonna get the other, $400,000 or $500,000 from for park improvements, unless we build a lot more housing.
So I would like to speak to that to persuade you all.
Wait, that's not how we do it.
Oh.
So I need to find out, does anybody else have their comments?
Oh, it looks like Ms. Fatua wants to say
I just want to
something.
clarify, no motion is needed. It's more about you providing recommendations and feedback. We'll collect all those comments.
So it's not a votable, actionable item.
It's a receive and file,
Okay.
but, and then from
That's
there.
my error.
It's
Okay.
okay. The parks, so you guys will have an item section when the council report for council will have for review. So we can
So
take
you
those
can-
I feel
comments.
like we voted on it once before or something similar, so don't feel bad that you got
No.
mixed up.
No, I was trying to look to see, and it says to recommend to provide recommendations. I thought it was for a vote. So would you like to rescind your motion, because you don't need to make it?
I will make the same recommendations in the correct format.
Well, if it's not an actual item, we can't vote on it. If it's not.
Yeah,
it's-
that's fine.
Yeah. And would you like to rescind your second, so we can be in compliance? Okay, so now it's just discussion. So one of the recommendations from one of the commissioners to add those four in for about $420,000. And we have Commissioner Rutherford, who feels, if I can summarize it, that the current as proposed at the million. Do we have any other commissioners with comments or discussions about the CIP? All right.
Can I add something?
Absolutely.
Since I don't need to convince you all to vote for it anymore. Well, all I was going to say was the bigger picture here is council looks at the public work projects. They're looking at a variety of different departments. We just look at park projects, and cuts don't necessarily need to be made from parks. They can decide, you know what, we'll defer this public work project or something instead. And that was kind of the gist I was getting from them was, hey, it looks like parks got a lot less funding. We know that's because of last year's grants, but I guess I wasn't entering this thinking all the other things aren't important. It was more so wanting to echo things I would want to add, which is always easier, right? Spending money's the easy part. Cutting money's the hard part. So yeah.
Okay. I think staff has a lot of input from us and everybody else who participated. All right. At this point, any other comments? Then we'll go to monthly reports. We have the Ranger report for March and April. Any questions on that? Just looking at the April one. All right. Then we'll move
Madam Chair?
to, what?
Madam Chair, if I can
Yes.
just make a few comments about the Costa Mesa Police Report.
Yes,
Or
please
about
do.
the Park Ranger Monthly Report, I'm sorry. So looking at the report and having some discussions with, the various, commissioners and also the committees, particularly the Fairview Park Committee, Steering Committee. So we're kind of looking at this report a little bit differently, and moving forward, towards the future, we're actually recommending that we provide a biannual presentation on the various activities occurring at the parks and also at the recreational facilities. So the recommendation is actually that we would like to move away from this report and just provide an actual in-person presentation on a biannual basis, starting in January and then followed up in probably June. And then that way, since this is not our department, you can ask specific questions directly to the officer presenting the report and have a little bit more of a comprehensive feedback and dialogue in regards to the various activities happening within our facilities and parks.
Thank you. At this time, then we'll move to the director's report.
All right, that's me.
That's you.
So first off, this is my first PAX meeting, and I'm very excited, and I was looking forward to to this day occurring. So I had a chance to kind of meet with you individually throughout the last month or so, and it just gives me a better input and a better understanding in regards to each of your concerns and needs, and also how we can move forward and bring in the commission together and work a little bit more in conjunction with the processes and the operation itself of the department. So I'm very pleased with the progress that we're making. Again, I'm still kind of in the informational gathering phase as I'm reaching out and meeting with various individuals, especially the key stakeholders within our community. So I'm going to continue with that trend. I do want to give an update in regards to this report in particular. I think it's of great value. There's a lot of data and information in here, but as I'm kind of assessing the operation, so to speak, I'm looking to make some changes. Not only to the agenda, to streamline it a little bit more how the council agenda is presented, but also in regards to the director's report. So I will be presenting some changes at the next meeting. Just want to make you aware of that. And me personally, I kind of feel like that this information here would be a great consent item, where it's great data, but I'm really looking to gear my director's report towards operational occurrences as they're happening and future events and programming coming up. So it's going to be a little bit more engaging as opposed to just looking at previous data. So I don't really have any particular comments in regards to this report right now. Unless you have specific questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And if there's none, then I will go ahead and continue on with my current report right here. So I do want to just mention, I was mentioning how I've been reaching out to key stakeholders and kind of meeting with them. We did have a meeting with the T-Winkle Youth Sports stakeholders last week, and that was with the various presidents, and we also met with Public Works out there and had a great discussion in person and just kind of assessing the T-Winkle sports fields and the needs and the concerns. So we have that in process. We also met over at Fairview Park with Chair Eric Roberts and the previous chair, Andy Campbell, and did a site walkthrough, and just so I can understand personally their concerns and how we can address those. I've also met with the SOI president, Mary, and had a great conversation with her as well. So again, these are the kind of outreach programs I'm kind of initiating right now as I'm still gathering the information and just making a really strong assessment operationally and how we can make improvements and make efficiencies, better operationally as well. So that's kind of the direction that we're at. I do have an upcoming tennis meeting as well with the contractor over there, which I know we just signed the agreement with. But there's an interest in providing some pickleball over there. So we're going to explore that a little bit further. Not making any promises right now, but that's the direction that we're going. And also have some couple of meetings coming up in regards to the Harbor Soaring Society. So I do want to mention that. And more importantly, some important upcoming events is the skate park outreach program, or outreach event, I should say, not a program per se. So that's happening this Saturday from 10 to 12. And we do have a food truck. It's the Burning Buns. So if you like hamburgers, come on down. I'm assuming it's hamburgers. So come on down, enjoy the event, and provide your input and feedback in regards to the skate park project that's going to be occurring. And then we also have the Shalimar Park on Friday, May 17th, and that's from 6 to 8 p.m. And then we also have Love Costa Mesa Day. Again, that's on, not again, but it's on May 18th. So definitely please come out for that as well. Be supportive of Costa Mesa. Just a wonderful city, and just seeing all the different community engagement and involvement is very, very encouraging. And I just love seeing that type of spirit and that kind of atmosphere and teamwork. So, and then also just to wrap things up, on May 19th, we have our Adaptive Program Resource Fair, and that's over at the Senior Center. And that's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, all the information is online, so feel free to check it out online. And, you know, just looking forward, again, working with all of you and making those improvements, and working with the council, of course, and yeah, just operationally moving our department forward. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any additional commission or staff comments? I think we have a lot of comments out. And I just want to really thank Commissioner Rutherford for his tremendous service to the city. You came in and you dug in, and you really were, you continue to be a tremendous leader and guidance to many of us. And you're an inspiration to so many in the city, especially you came in as a young man while you were a student at UCI and started really helping and move forward. So telling all the youth that were here and everywhere else, you can make a difference starting at really young. And I just personally just am grateful for the time we spent together, and I know you'll be back, because everyone comes back to Costa Mesa, especially when your little guy's a little older. Those are mine. That, do I have a motion for adjournment? Do I have a second? Second. We are adjourned.